And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. Well, on September the 8th, a very, very special album drops. That album is called As Gomorrah Burns, and it is the brand new album from the legends of death metal themselves, Cryptopsy. So we thought today we would actually get one of the members of the band on the phone to chat about this absolutely amazing album. So welcome to the program, Matt.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here, Dave.
No problem. Now, Matt, like I said, this is an absolutely amazing album. It sounds like you guys, though, had a little bit of trouble putting this one together. I was wondering if you could go right back to the beginning and tell us a little bit about the ideas that you guys had for this album.
Yeah, it all started a long time ago. If you look at it, everything's always nice far away, right? So let's start at the beginning. 2019, we wrapped up an Asian tour. And we were like, okay, it's time to let's write some new material. So we always wanted to do something more focused, something more cohesive and something together, writing-wise. So we rented a cabin in the woods. And the reason we did that was because we wanted to be together and focused. Typically in the past, during the new era of Cryptopsy, we would always go and do writing sessions or after work, getting into the jam room together on a second steam, we could say. Not that it wasn't important, it's just that, when you do a full day's work and then you go do a jam afterwards or a writing session, you sort of have to drink an energy drink or have a cup of coffee to give yourself that second wind. We wanted to give our full attention to the new material. So we rented a cabin in the woods. It was booked. And then we had to move it. So funnily enough, it ended up being in March 2020, which that whole week is exactly when the pandemic really became something that people took seriously or started paying a lot more attention to. Trump closed the borders, and here we were in a cabin in the woods on our phones, just watching the world basically shut down. It was extremely ominous. It was strange, a lot of anxiety, and it's sort of, you can feel it on the record. So that week was very productive. We wrote a lot of material that is on the record, and then we finished it remotely on Zoom calls, which sucked. Trying to write extreme Cryptopsy style music on a Zoom call with 4 other members talking and someone playing guitar is not fun. So that took some time, and then finally we finished the record once we could get together.
So that time when you were recording over Zoom, you said that wasn't a great experience. What kind of things were getting in your way at that time when you were trying to write?
I feel like it's just Cryptopsy is such a complex beast when it comes to putting riffs together, and Chris is the mastermind, main songwriter since John Levasseur left after the self-titled. He seems to know where something's going, and hypothetically, if we're not in the same room with him or looking at what he's looking at, it's sort of hard to feel that. So people would be talking, and then there's lags, and then some people have good Wi-Fi and other people don't. And then it's just something that would have happened in a room, we would have gotten let's say 4 or 5 riffs done. We would get through a riff and a half, and then we'd be like, well, that's enough for tonight. It was just annoying.
I understand too, you also had some fears that the album might be too dark as well. Could you talk us through that? What was that like? How did you get to that conclusion, and how did you work through that?
We definitely wanted to bring some darkness to the album. There's 2 things that we wanted to bring. We had discussed and purposefully placed into the writing sessions and put into effect on As Gomorrah Burns, and that was repeating groove sections for longer, which is something that we were not doing necessarily on the new era of Cryptopsy, which is Tome 1 and Tome 2. There was a lot of this is an amazing part, this is awesome, it's gone. And that was just, I don't know where that was coming from. I don't know if it was leaning into the Whisper Supremacy era and then You'll Beg era, which Chris is a big fan of. But having toured None So Vile and seeing what the fans react to and seeing how these long groove sections is really what makes a crowd pop, we definitely wanted to include that. We also wanted to include something dark, something ominous, And when I say dark, I don't mean what a lot of these death metal bands are doing right now, including a bunch of black metal elements into extreme death metal. We wanted to bring malaise, which is uncomfortableness, something that makes you feel dirty, something like neurosis, darkness, is really what we wanted to bring towards the new Cryptopsy. And we came up with this part, which is the closer of the album, Praise the Filth. And we were like, that's it. This is what we need to bring and spread across the record. But then we were worried that it was too dark. Is this too dark for Cryptopsy? Does it fit into what is Cryptopsy? I always picture Cryptopsy's musical sphere as an umbrella. And I was worried that this darkness, this malaise, was too far outside the umbrella. So we had some discussions, but once we finished the song, it's like literally the four of ours favorite track from the album. So we've done something right, and we're confident that it falls underneath that umbrella. But there was some questioning that if we went too dark, maybe some of the lyrical aspects too are extremely brutal that we were concerned about. But I'm very confident with the concept, and I know that I'm a good person, so it's okay to have some dark lyrics.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Where do you think that darkness was coming from? Was it the world that we live in at the moment? Was it?
It could be. The concept of the record being about the internet in parallel with Sodom and Gomorrah. Everyone knows that biblical story of utopia of wealth and knowledge, and then God coming in and smiting everyone because they took advantage of it and they overindulged in all that. I'm seeing that with the internet. The internet is a beautiful place, but it's also a very dark place, and it's very interesting that I had this concept, and here we are in the woods writing in this beautiful place and writing this dark music while on our phones are just blowing up with the most anxiety-ridden posts from everyone. So hypothetically, it just bled into the music, hypothetically, but the darkness is there. Everyone feels it.
Do you think also, like, with the internet and everything like that, do you think that people had a little bit of a disconnection with that during the pandemic? Because it's interesting, because it was the way that we all communicated, but I found during that time, because I was stuck at home, I was able to connect with nature a lot more. I live in a kind of semi-rural area, but I work in the city. So every day I travel into the city, but then during that time I was able to get out, and we're only allowed outside for 2 hours a day. So I'd go outside for like 2 hours out into the countryside for a walk with my dog and stuff like that. Do you think that actually helped that disconnection from internet a little bit?
I think in your circumstance, yes. I would hope that most people took that window and went outside.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that they did. I don't think the majority of people did. I feel like the pandemic, as much as we used and we're telling ourselves that we're using the internet to connect with people more, all we were doing was self-isolating ourselves even more.
Yep.
And that's my fear. That's my fear of the internet, is people don't live a true reality anymore.
Yeah.
They live in isolation and believe that they're connected to everyone. And they are, in theory, but most of the time they're alone. And one of my biggest fears, and I have young kids, and it's something that I'm trying to instill in them, that young children and people in general are incapable of being bored anymore.
Yep.
I feel like boredom is an important emotion, feeling, and I feel that a lot of amazing creative discoveries have probably come from people feeling bored. And that worries me for the future. I don't know what's going to happen if people can boredom be gone? Will probably the humanity and the human race will still survive, but what is going to happen to our brain if it no longer has that idling experience? I don't know. That's something that I think about.
Definitely. Now, Matt, you've talked a couple of times now about the new Cryptopsy. How does that feel for you? It sounds like you guys are completely revigorated with the brand new album for the first time in 10 years, a new record label. How does it feel to be part of the band right now, and why did now feel like the perfect time to do another album?
Well, it's been a long time coming, that's for sure. We definitely wanted to do another Book of Suffering tome, which is what we did between the last self-titled, and now we released 2 EPs. So we were planning to drop a third EP with Nuclear Blast, actually. That's actually why I started contacting with them to get a record deal. But it was very complicated with some rights that had been signed away in certain territories to release the full Book of Suffering, which is all 3 tomes in a beautiful package, which is really what we wanted Nuclear Blast to do. So we did a Nuclear Blast sort of like just casually like passed the puck back, and to be very Canadian, passed the puck back to me saying, what if you just do a full-length album and we do the Book of Suffering later? And I was like, okay, we'll do that. So,
yeah.
But the new era is, there's many eras of Cryptopsy, and I feel like we have to honor them all. I picture the eras of Cryptopsy being, there's about 4 eras throughout the 30-year career, and this new era is really once Chris Donaldson started becoming the prime songwriter, and that's after the self-titled that came out in 2012. John left the band, and Chris is in full control of songwriting at this point. So the Book of Suffering, Tome 1, Tome 2, and now As Gomorrah Burns is definitely the new era of Cryptopsy in my mind, and we are the longest running Cryptopsy lineup, and I'm very excited to announce that. We get along, we like each other, and we have lots of fun, and we create some weird music that primarily we enjoy, and we hope other people enjoy too.
Does it feel like 30 years for you? Like, that's such...
Oh, I've been in the band 16 years. So
yeah.
I can say that it doesn't feel like I've been in the band for 16 years. I've definitely grown up a lot over the past 16 years. I can tell you now that I'm enjoying myself the most that I ever have in the band. I'm finally having fun. I've been living with crippling self-doubt, we can say, of being a good death metal vocalist. That took me a long time to get over. My first release, The Unspoken King, horrible backlash, probably just not a good Cryptopsy record, I'll say it. I listened to it last week, and there was some dirty cringe moments. So I'm finally having fun, and I'm enjoying myself. I don't think Flo would say that it feels like 30 years either, but I'm sure if he would like go back and like sit and think and imagine all of the members, all of the musicians that he's toured with and played with over the years, he would probably say that he feels a little bit old, but he's probably just joking.
Yeah.
He can still blast. I was with him last night. He's still blasting like a beast.
For the young musicians out there listening to the show, how do you overcome that self-doubt? Because I talk to a lot of young musicians that I see are so talented, but they won't take that next step because they have that self-doubt. How did you overcome yours?
I don't think you can until you're ready, and that's a horrible thing to say, but I feel like what happened for me, I don't know. It's just something clicked. Maybe the pandemic helped a lot, and everything was gone, and I toured so much before the pandemic, and to just have it be gone, maybe that's an aspect of it why I'm so appreciative of what I get to do. I dealt with a lot of shit for the Unspoken King there, so it was really, really heavy death threats and stuff like that. People really didn't like me. So it took me I would still go out and tour, and I didn't quit. I kept at it. But self-doubt is, you're your own worst enemy, right? Like, what you're hearing is probably not necessarily what everyone else is hearing. So
yeah,
you just have to take it one show at a time and focus and have energy and deliver the best performance that you can. Self-doubt trick that I've been doing this leading up to this tour is I record myself practicing, and then I listen to myself back, and I enjoy what I hear, so that's helping a little bit.
Definitely. Well, mate, you sound absolutely amazing on this album, I've got to say. I've had the chance to sit down and listen to it, and you are amazing on this album. I guess the big question... The big question that a lot of your Aussie fans are going to have listening to this, though, is there any chance that you guys might be touring in Australia at some stage?
Oh, I want to. Dave, I want to. We're going to Asia in December, and I poke the powers that be, our Australian good friends that I will not name here, but you all know who I'm talking about, to come down there and to play, but it was too close to Christmas, so it's not a possibility then. I was like, since I'm in the neighborhood, can I come and play Australia? But he was like, nah, it's too close to Christmas, the flights are crazy. 2024, we're going to make it happen as a priority for me. I had such a good time when we came down there. I want to say it was in 2018, something like that.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
We had such a good time. It was so much fun. New Zealand as well. definitely want to come back. I had a great time. I've also heard that your craft beer scene is just blowing up, and I just dropped a beer with Black Flag Brewing, or I am about to drop a beer with Black Flag Brewing, so I want to go hang out with them. Very excited to come to Australia in 2024.
Awesome, and I'll have to check out that beer as well. We've actually got a craft beer importer just up the road from me that imports beer from right around the world, so I'll have to look out for that.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, Black Flag Brewing is dropping a Vox and Hops beer, so check that out.
Awesome, I will do. Well, Matt, to finish off, because we're running out of time, what would you like to say to everybody out there before they sit down and take a listen to this album?
I literally just did a round table with the whole band, and we came up with the perfect answer for this. So here you go. We want you to take the time, listen to it when you have a moment. Don't put it on when you're not concentrated and you're listening to it in the background. Sit down, put it on a good sound system and or good headphones, and enjoy yourself. Just sit back, relax, and Flo wants you to try to count. Try to count your way through this, and because it feels square, which I mean, it feels like everything is 4/4, let's say, normal, but it's actually extremely complex, and they worked very hard at that. And analyze your relationship with social media. That's something I want you to think about. What do you really have to take out of your phone out of your pocket and look at it right now? You probably don't.